Before the Klingon Empire expanded into the stars, there was the planet of Konos, ruled by a tyrant known as Molor, believed to be the strongest and greatest warrior of the planet. However, soon a challenger rose against him. Kahless the Unforgettable went to war against Molor, preferring to die rather than live under his oppressive rule. Kahless fought alongside the woman who would become his wife, Lady Lucara, and the two once defeated an army of 500 warriors sent by Molor to capture the city of Kamchi. Kahless, armed with the first ever bat'leth, finally met Molor at the river Skrull, where he defeated the tyrant and would go on to become emperor of a newly formed Klingon Empire. After defeating the armies of the Fek'Liri, who some believe may have been Molor loyalists, Kahless established a strict code of honor and developed a warrior culture that would serve as the core of Klingon society for over 1,500 years. Under Kahless and the imperial dynasties that would rule after his death, Konos developed into a feudal society with power residing in the noble class, whose families comprised the great houses of the Klingon Empire. From among this aristocracy, a select few would serve on the High Council, aiding the Emperor in the governing of the Empire. Although women were greatly valued in Klingon society, often viewed as equals on the battlefield, only men were traditionally chosen for the High Council, though some exceptions have been made. As a warrior culture, the need for battle was a constant source of division, with great houses often warring against each other. And so the Emperor and High Council directed their fury outward, allowing for the Empire to expand drastically, conquering and subjugating any who resisted. Yet despite their harsh and brutal tactics in war, the Klingon Empire proved to be excellent administrators, often allowing local populations to govern their own day-to-day affairs. As a result, those races who came to live under Klingon rule were generally happy with the state of affairs and would not welcome change. For centuries, the Empire flourished, with their influence expanding beyond their native Beta Quadrant, eventually even considered an Alpha Quadrant power. Although they had many years of victory, the Empire did suffer a catastrophic defeat in the 14th century, when they were invaded by the powerful Hurk species, who were originally from the Gamma Quadrant, but made their way into Klingon space, defeating their armies and stealing priceless Klingon artifacts. Eventually, the Hurk left their space, but many of the items they stole were never recovered, and it has long been remembered as a dark time for the Empire. As the centuries went on, the position of Emperor became primarily ceremonial, and while the Emperor retained the right to take direct control of the government, they instead left it to the High Council. By the 21st century, the position was abandoned altogether, with power now resting solely in the High Council and its leader, the Chancellor. Many believe that it was the end of imperial rule that began the decline of the Empire, as many of the old traditions of honor set forth by Kahless so many years earlier were now largely ignored, with greed and politics controlling many of the leaders of the great houses. Their corruption became so pronounced that in 2366, the House of Duras conspired to frame the House of Moog, claiming their patriarch was a traitor to the Empire, when it had in fact been a member of the House of Duras who betrayed them to the Romulan Empire. Although the scheme was discovered, the Duras family was so powerful and influential that a scandal against them might threaten the stability and peace of the Empire. And so Worf, son of Moog, chose to act selflessly, accepting blame despite his family's innocence, all for the sake of the Empire. Though the Klingon leadership had in many ways abandoned the traditions of the past, their basis as a warrior culture never changed. After years of successful expansion, the Klingon Empire began to interact with other superpowers in their region of the galaxy. The Empire soon found itself in conflict with nearby factions such as the United Federation of Planets, the Romulan Star Empire, and the Cardassian Union. In 2267, the Klingon Empire was prepared to go to war with the Federation after demanding they withdraw from Donatu 5, Sherman's planet, Organia, the Arcanus sector, and a number of other territories near the Klingon Federation border. However, war was averted by the Organians, non-corporeal beings who negotiated the Treaty of Organia, establishing a border and neutral zone between the two powers, and proved to be the first step towards permanent peace and an eventual alliance. Yet peace was not a simple proposition for the Klingon Empire, and so once again they ran into conflict with the Federation in the late 23rd century. However, again war was averted due to the destruction of the moon Praxis by hazardous mining operations, and the terrible environmental disaster that came to Konos as a result. The Klingon Empire already dedicated a great portion of their budget to military expenses, adding the cost of recovering from a large-scale disaster to their homeworld. They could no longer afford to go to war. And so the famous diplomat Curzon Dax of the Federation led negotiations with the Empire, and after lengthy talks, the first Khitomer Accords were signed, creating a lasting peace between the two powers. Though dealings with the Romulan Star Empire had always been tumultuous, for a time they enjoyed peaceful and reasonably friendly relations with the Empire. But all that changed in 2344 when the Romulans decided to violate all treaties between their factions and invaded the Klingon outpost of Narendra III. Although the Federation was not involved in the dispute, the USS Enterprise C, witnessing the unprovoked attack, rushed to the defense of the Klingons, valiantly battling against 4 Romulan warbirds. Despite being severely outmatched, the Enterprise refused to retreat, and the ship was destroyed in the fighting. The Klingons, having witnessed the bravery and honorable conduct of the Federation, began to see them in a new light, and the sacrifice of the Enterprise C proved to be another great step towards an alliance between the powers. Although relations with the Romulans would continue to worsen, by the mid-24th century, the Klingon Empire and United Federation of Planets signed the Treaty of Alliance, establishing an official state of friendship and cooperation between them. But the alliance not only provided peace for the two parties involved, it also created a fundamental shift in the balance of power within the Alpha and Beta quadrants. The Romulan Star Empire and Cardassian Union could no longer count on facing off against one enemy, but would now have to face both the Federation and the Klingons should they choose to invade either faction. The treaty established many years of peace in the region. However, relations once again soured in the prelude to the Dominion War of the late 24th century. With the Bajoran wormhole providing quick travel between the Alpha and Gamma quadrants, the Dominion began covert operations in the Alpha quadrant, preparing for an invasion. The Klingons became victims of their espionage, and were manipulated into launching an unprovoked attack against the Cardassian Union. Despite their alliance, the Federation condemned their actions, leading to Chancellor Gowron breaking off relations, and even led to a brief but destructive conflict known as the Federation-Klingon War. Eventually, the two powers realized that the Dominion had orchestrated events so that the two former allies would weaken each other significantly to aid the coming invasion of Dominion forces. When they discovered the deception, Chancellor Gowron and Captain Benjamin Sisko agreed to reinstate the Khitomer Accords and re-establish a defensive alliance between the Federation and Empire. This alliance allowed them to mount a proper defense against the Dominion-Cardassian alliance. And after the Romulans joined their war effort, the Klingon, Federation, and Romulan alliance was able to defeat the Dominion and send them back to the Gamma Quadrant. After this glorious victory, the Klingon Empire, under their newly elevated Chancellor Martok, would return to their territories and spend the next several years recovering from the war. A special thanks to all those who have contributed to CivilizationEx. You make these videos possible, and I am eternally grateful for your support. If you would like to help CivilizationEx and want a say in the future content of this channel, click on the Patreon link in the description box below, and pledge any amount you'd like on a monthly basis. Or if you would prefer to make a single donation, you can use the PayPal link, also in the description below. And please be sure to like and subscribe, and click on the links to see more.